On number 1, we're asked to use the quadratic formula to find the exact solutions and then also provide the solutions accurate to 2 decimal places. So we do want to use the quadratic formula here, and I actually want to divide everything by -1 first. So when you have a negative number in front of your x squared term, then usually it makes it easier to divide everything by -1 to get rid of that -1. So I'm going to divide by -1 to make it easier. So all that's going to do is just change all of my signs. So this will be 2x squared minus 2x minus 5, and then 0 divided by -1 is still 0. Okay, so using the quadratic formula, I like to usually define my variables first. So my a is 2, my b is -2, and my c is -5. It's coming from the coefficients of the x squared, the x, and then the constant. You don't have to do that if you don't want to, but you still need to plug them into the quadratic formula. So the quadratic formula is going to be negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. And I like to write open parentheses whenever I do the quadratic formula, because if you don't, it's very easy to make mistakes with negatives, especially in the first 2 blanks. So I find that kind of helps to use the open parentheses. So I want to plug in -2 here, and -2 here, a +2 here, a +2 here, and -5 here. So then our next step is going to be to simplify this. So this is going to be a +2 plus or minus square root of, if you type in the inside of the radical, you should get 44 all over 4. Then we need to simplify the radical. So this is going to be 2 plus or minus, and when we simplify a radical, we need to break it up into the largest perfect square that divides into that. So the largest perfect square that divides into 44 would be 4. So this is going to be square root of 4. And then what times 4 gets you back to 44? That would be 11. So I haven't changed the value, meaning you could still remultiply 4 times 11 to get back to 44. I've just changed the way that it looks. And this is because that square root of 4 can become a square root of 2. Or I should say, a normal 2. So this will be 2 plus or minus 2 square root 11 over 4. We're still simplifying here. So if you take all 3 numbers that are not the radical, if those are all divisible by something, then you need to reduce by that. So these are all divisible by the same thing. They're all divisible by 2. So if you divide everything by 2, except for the radical, then you're going to get 1 plus or minus 1 square root 11 over 2. And you don't need to write the 1 in front of the square root 11, because 1 times square root 11 is just going to be square root 11. So this would be your answers. It's technically 2 answers because there's a plus and a minus version. So this is the exact. Now if you type these into your calculator, I should mention that WebAssign will usually split them up, or want you to split them up, because it doesn't have a plus minus button. So let me actually circle this one. So this is how WebAssign will want it. But we still want to do the decimals. So if you type these into your calculator, you should get that this is approximately 2.16 and approximately negative 1.16. So those will be the decimal equivalents.